Namaste, I'm Holly Pastora, a certified Iyengar yoga teacher, and today we're practicing Shalabhasana, the locust pose, Makrasana, the crocodile pose, and Dhanurasana, the bow pose, and Ekapada Padangushta Dhanurasana, which is one leg holding the big toe, arm overhead in bow pose. So there's 4 different back bends, and there's different grades of sadhakas, or seekers, practitioners of yoga, according to Sage Patanjali. And they are mild, medium, intense, and supremely intense and vigorous. And these 4 back bends are just like the grades of sadhakas: mild, medium, intense, and supremely intense. So there's something for everybody. The first one is Shalabhasana. They're all done from the prone position. So this is, in yoga we say, the supta, right? You're lying down on your back. And for these back bends, we're going to lie down on our front. Now, earlier in the Virabhadrasana Vinyasa, we used a belt to achieve something that we would call Shalabhasana arms, where the arms are in this position, right? So you're welcome to use the belt again if you felt that it was helpful for you. Otherwise, I want you to watch what I'm doing with my legs. So I'm going to raise my right leg up, roll the outer right leg in across the front of the leg, and then extend back and bring the leg down. So I'm doing the same thing with the left, raising it up, rolling the front of the leg in, extending back, and bringing the leg down. Okay? And it's important here that you remember those middle buttocks that you want to push back to sit in a chair, they have to stay tucked in. The upper buttock moving away from the waist, the middle buttock staying tucked in, and the bottom of the hamstrings moves up towards the bottom of the buttocks. Okay, now, just like you did earlier, you're not going to lift your hands up because you see how that takes my shoulders forward and it puts a lot of strain on my neck. So from here, you're going to press the back of your hands down into the floor and lift the top of your shoulders up. And then roll your shoulders back and drag your fingernails towards the wall behind you to lift your head, neck, and chest up. And then come back down with an exhalation. Inhale into your chest. Exhale into your lower abdomen. Roll the shoulders back and drag your fingernails towards the wall behind you. Now, lightly lift your fingernails up off of the floor, and keeping the backs of your thighs spreading out, the front of your thighs rolling in, and extending from those inner knees to the inner calves to the inner ankles to the inner heels. Do you see how those actions lift me higher and higher? And then down I come. One more time, and this time I want you to pay attention to what part of your abdomen is on the floor, right? So you want to be right in the center of the abdomen, not too much towards the rib side or too much towards the pelvis side. Pressing the backs of your hands into the floor to roll the shoulders back. Extend through the crown of your head as you raise your head and your neck and your chest up off the floor. Now, charge those inner knees, reach them towards the inner heels to raise the legs up. Take the fingernails off the floor. Open the palms and extend through all of the fingers and the toes. Now, see that you're on the very center of that abdomen. And down you come. The next pose is Makrasana. It's the crocodile pose, and it's very similar to the one that you just did. The only difference is, so we've done today in our sequence these arms, Urdhva Baddha, and I want you to see how the arms in Makrasana are up, overhead, and back. The upper arms are just like they are in Urdhva Baddha, but the difference is you're going to interlace your hands, take your elbows out to the sides a little bit, and press your head back into your hands. Now, this part of my hands, right heel, here, the heel, the bottom of my thumb, that's the part of my hand that my occiput presses into, right? And that's like this bony projection above and out from the base of your skull. So because your arms are overhead and you're lifting your trunk up higher, and your hands are pressing your head in one direction, and your head is pressing back into your hands the other direction, this is more of a strengthener for your upper back muscles, okay? The muscles in your upper back. So from Shalabhasana preparation, see how I stretch the arms up overhead, and I place my elbows on the floor and I bend them. And I don't bring my head into my hands yet, but I just start to prepare. I feel, is one arm turning out? I have to roll that upper arm in, so I'm absolutely on the center of both of my lower triceps. Now see how I bend my elbows here to take my hands back towards my shoulders, and then you do that also, and with our next exhalation we'll come up. And we're just going to come up with our head. So lifting your head up. Now take the elbows out to the sides just a little bit so you feel your back muscles broaden. And with your next exhalation into your lower abdomen, press your head into your hands. And then down we come. Take a resting breath. And with your next exhalation, come up. And this time, lift your legs. And don't just lift them. You have to extend from the triceps to the elbows in one direction and from the inner knees to the inner heels in the other direction. Our next pose is Dhanurasana. It's the bow pose. We're going to do one leg at a time instead of both the legs together today. So we're going to do Ekapada to begin with. One leg in Dhanurasana. So I want you to see how I'm starting with my left hand out in front of me. And I'm not lifting up off of the bottom of my rib cage. And then see how I bend this right knee and I reach for my right. First of all, it's the top of the foot, okay? But I want you to see, when my hand is up, do you see how my shoulder rolls forward and my upper arm goes down? So I'm going to walk my hand down my leg, past my ankle, and towards my shin. Okay, now watch how I walk my left hand back a little bit, just enough so that with my next exhalation, I can press the whole center of that right thigh down into the floor and pull back with my right shin. And I do that by pressing my left hand down and forward and pulling my left ankle back into my hand. And then down I come. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. But I'm starting with this hand a little further out, bending the knee. And this may be where you're at today. Okay? But if you can, keeping the front of that left thigh rolling in, walk your hand down below your ankle, onto your shin. I say below because it's closer to the floor. And then bend that right elbow, bring the right hand back towards you a little more. And with your next exhalation, push with your right hand, press back with your left ankle to lift your trunk up and away from the floor. watch the position of my foot. I'm not pointing my toes up towards the ceiling. I'm making a hinge in my ankle, and I'm keeping it that way. Now you see, can I grab both of the feet, both of the ankles, or both of the shins, and come up. And you can rock. The next pose is very similar to what you just did. We're not going to do both sides at once, and you're going to place a belt loop on your hand now. This isn't for everyone. Remember I said that there were grades of sadhakas. You might have reached your level for today, but see how I have a loop in the belt that's maybe 18 inches wide. And I'm going to take that belt around that loop, around my right ankle. Now, it's really important that your right knee doesn't go out to the side here. You keep rolling the front of that right thigh in and stay on the median line of the center of that right thigh. Now, do you see how I've turned my arm like I did in chair Bharadvajasana, right? To place my hand into that loop, and then from here, I'm going to press my left hand down, lift myself up, bring my elbow out to the side, forward, and then upward. And down I come. Now I'm going to repeat on the other side. Being careful to see that I'm keeping the front of that left thigh rolling in. And with my next exhalation, bending that elbow out to the side, bringing it forward towards the wall in front of me, and then see how I press that right leg and that right hand down, and I push my foot back into the belt to lift myself up. And then you can go from mild to medium by making the loop smaller. And see how I press this hand down and I press that leg down to lift myself up. And then I'll do the same thing on the other side. So my hand isn't out here to begin with. Do you see how, that's a way. You could do that, right? If you were doing the mild variation of this pose. But as I move towards the extremely, supremely and extremely intense stage, I'm going to bend my elbow and bring my elbow in line with my hand and press that palm and that leg down into the floor to lift myself up. And I can even bend that elbow, come onto my ribs, and then pull my hand back if I need to. So I can press the thigh down and lift my trunk up. And then you could narrow the loop in the belt again, and again, and again, until your hand and your foot were almost touching. then you were doing the supremely intense variation or stage of Ekapada Padangushta Dhanurasana. Or you could consider it downward facing dancer's pose, Natarajasana. But see, the foot makes a difference here, right? So I have to push that foot back, back, back towards the wall behind me.